What happened back there?
I don't care.
Hey, I've got an idea. Let's rock talk.
Hey everybody, this is Lord Magicus, and we're here to do another MTG Rock Talk. This past week has just been exhausting. I don't even know where to begin with this. Everybody has been up in arms at Wizards of the Coast, and you know what? It's for really, really good reason. I think we've crossed a line where things are just going to be bad for a while, and I don't know about you guys, but I need a break. This is just so taxing on me mentally that I need to step away from this for a week. And you know what? Let's just do that. We can. I'm going to do a week of content where we're going to do things other than Magic. I'm going to show you some of the things that I use to occupy my time. You know, things that I like to go out and look for, or games that I like to play, or things that I might want to read, or whatever. We'll do a few days of that. So we are not going to be playing Magic this week. And I guess now is why we're going to talk about why that is. So let's start with the standard ban announcement. I think that's as good a place as any. Now, Wizards has not been doing very well with standard in the last 2 years. Let's be real. Ever since War of the Spark, it has been a fucking disaster. They've been infested with stupidly overpushed fire cards. You know, they've had stuff like Teferi and Fires of Invention and Wilderness Reclamation and Field of the Dead and Veil of Summer, Oko, Once Upon a Time. They're all, I don't know. It keeps getting worse from that too. Then what? Uro after that, and now we're at a point where it's Omnath. I don't even know if I've named like all of the cards. There have been so many problem ones. I couldn't go through the list off the top of my head if I tried. And like standard has been a fucking disaster, and it seems like no amount of bans can fix it, because anytime they get close to a functional format, like another set just comes out and it's like, oh, by the way, we have more stupid pushed mythics for this set, so good luck. And this latest disaster, well, everybody knew that Uro should have been banned a long time ago in standard, but nope, we can't ban it because it's the face card of Theros, and we don't ban face cards from the set. I mean, I've definitely said that, and it seemed like it was a really pessimistic thing, but we've seen a few instances of them choosing to not ban the expensive cards whenever possible. And honestly, I think that's why even Oko survived as long as he did, because they really didn't want to ban him right away. But Oko is like such an egregious problem, or such a plague on the entirety of Magic the Gathering. Like, it had to be banned from standard immediately. But I don't doubt that it should have probably been banned much sooner than that. And the only reason it lasted as long as it did is because, well, it's another face card. So we saw that like dominated literally like every format that it was in. Oko is the only card that almost got the quintuple crown, which is first place in every single challenge for Standard, Pioneer, Modern, Legacy, and Vintage. I think it missed Pioneer, but it made like the top 4. So it was really close. But yeah, Uro has been like that too, where Uro is in every format, including Standard, and has just been dominating like all of those formats, except with the exception, I don't think it's being played much in Vintage. I could be wrong. I don't think so. I don't play a lot of Vintage. I couldn't tell you, but I can at least tell you that Standard, Modern, Pioneer, and even Legacy, he is definitely among like the top 5 played creatures in the entire format. So yeah, the card is absurd. And it did not belong in standard. Like, they put it alongside Growth Spiral, and who would have knew that, you know, having like this thing that draws you a card and gains you 3 life, puts a land in play, and then does it every time it comes into play or attacks it, and can't be interacted with removal, because it'll just keep coming back every other turn. Yeah, who would have known that was a bad idea? I couldn't tell you. So yeah, we got to a point where now Zendikar is coming out. Well, landfall is always a huge part of Zendikar, right? So, of course, we have to put in some pushed landfall cards and enter Lotus Cobra and Omnath. We saw both of those cards yeah, and immediately everybody's like, okay, well, don't these just slot in right alongside Uro and just make like the single best card in the format? Yeah, they do, and they did. It turns out a 4-color deck is not really hard to do when you keep your base is green and you have stuff like Fabled Passage and Cobra to fix your mana, and you have all the triomes, which make it super easy to splash 4 colors. And Omnath is just ridiculously powerful because of it. It's being enabled by both Cobra and Uro, and Omnath is just insane. Like, it's another card where it just, like, first of all, it's like a 4/4 and you cast it, you draw a card. And then it also gains you life on a landfall, and then if you make, like, another one, what the fuck is it? It adds 4 mana, yeah? And then you make like another landfall. If you have a third landfall, then it deals like 4 damage to each opponent and each planeswalker they control. It's just ridiculous. Why does it need to do that many things for 4 mana? It's not restrictive at all. And so Standard completely devolved into 4-color Omnath decks and just totally dominating it. So surprise, surprise, almost every single deck in like the last few Standard events that have been played, it just totally took over the format, so it needed to be addressed. And Zendikar hadn't even come out in paper, mostly at that point. So yeah, Wizards was put in a position where it's like, okay, well, we already had a garbage fire, and then we just threw gasoline on top of it. So now what do we do? So they looked at this format, and they said, you know what? If we ban Uro now, that's gonna fix everything. And no, it's not going to fix everything. There's only like one other deck that even had a chance at fighting the 4-color Omnath deck, and it was also running Uro. And without Uro, that deck doesn't have any hope of like beating Omnath. Like, Omnath is ridiculous. Like, they needed to ban Omnath, but everybody realizes like both Cobra and Omnath are untouchable because they are in Zendikar, and they won't ban a card until it sells a certain number of packs. Like, that is all but like been stated by them at this point, just through their actions. They refuse to ban the problem cards. They designed these cards to be pushed intentionally, and they won't ban them until after, like the next set comes out, or they will push it as far as they can possibly push it, because all they care about is pack sales. Apparently, the long-term health of the game means absolutely nothing to them, and they are only in it for short-term profit. And I'm sorry, but that's the truth. And it sounds really negative. And you might say, well, maybe you're just being hyperbolic. But this is where we get to the second part of this story, which, if there is any doubt about that point, then enter the Walking Dead secret lair. So, in the past, we've had Godzilla cards. All right, actually, we'll go back even further than that. So, I think the first set where they had an intellectual property or an IP crossover was HasCon, like 2 years ago, I think. They released a special a HasCon exclusive set that had what was it? The Sword of Dungeons and Dragons, a Transformer card, and a Nerf card. And they're all things that Hasbro owns, but they're all silver bordered cards, so nobody really cared. Like, silver bordered cards get to be weird and do stupid things, and it was a silver thing, so it's not going to affect any constructed play. It was fine. And then, I believe it was last year, I think it was last year. Maybe it could have been the year before. They did some My Little Pony silver bordered cards, and they did this for charity, which they donated a bunch of the money, if I recall, and that's fine. The silver border cards are cool. Like, they're My Little Pony's another thing that Hasbro owns, so they could kind of do it reasonably well. They don't really have a lot of licensing problems with it, and I think most people were pretty happy with that. I mean, I am a fan of ponies. I mean, I bought a set of the cards. I have some of the artist proofs for them. I think they're really cool, but again, they're silver bordered cards, so they're not going to affect constructed play. If you want to use them in like Commander or something, you can ask your friends and say, are you okay with me using this? Then that's what they refer to as Rule 0. You can house rule whatever you want. So if you want to allow some of these, fun silver border things that like they did at like HasCon or the My Little Pony stuff, that's fine. they're fun cards to play with. So if everybody's cool with it, you just play it and have fun. The problem is now they started doing secret layers. So Wizards decided, okay, we're going to start selling cards directly to the player base, and we're just going to cut the local game stores out of this. Which, that's already kind of sketchy, because you really need like to be supporting the game stores and letting them sell this stuff. They stopped doing the from the vaults, and then replaced them with secret layers. So basically, the whole thing was from the vault was their way of saying, here, game stores, we know you need to have some stuff to like help keep the lights on to support us, or to support, you know, running our events and stuff. So we'll sell you these from the vaults, and then we'll put in some good reprints in them. You know, there's like from the vaults lands, you know, there had like Maze of Ith in it, and I think Grove of the Burnwellows and stuff like that. Or, you know, there was a from the vault, I think, with a Mox Diamond in it, which that's its own separate story. But there's been like a ton of really cool from the vaults. Yeah, they're just a bunch of promos. Oh yeah, from the Vault 20 had Jace the Mind Sculptor in it, along with some other cool stuff like Hymn to Turok and I think Swords to Plowshares. Yeah, it was fun. It was really cool. So that's how we did this in the past, but now Wizards is like, okay, well, we're not doing from the vaults anymore, but you know, what if we did basically that exact thing, except we made all the money? Fuck the local game stores. We're just going to sell it to people directly. So that's where we got like the secret lair fetch lands, where they decided, you know what, we're going to sell a bunch of fetch lands. And yeah, it's ridiculous. They don't want to reprint them for real. They just want to, you know, sell singles to people and make tons of money. And it's a lot of people even then were saying, you know what, this is a problem. Like, you can't keep doing this. Like, the whole point is you should be reprinting these cards so that players can have them, not so you can just, you know, extract money out of them and treat them like cash cows. That's not really appropriate. That's not good for the long-term health of the game. But no, we ignored it then. So yeah, now we're at the point where we're at Secret Lair of the Walking Dead. So this is another intellectual property crossover, which okay, so you know, I'm gonna back up one thing. They did do Godzilla cards with Ikoria, and it is another crossover they did as a promotion. But the thing is, with the Godzilla cards, they were skins of existing cards in the set, so they're basically just like alternate art promos. But they actually had the name of a real Magic card that had a non-promo version of it in the set, and they're treated the same. So even then, like, I'm not really a fan of them existing, because I really like the concept of Magic being its own thing. In Black Border, at the very least, if I'm going into a constructed tournament, I want to play Magic. I don't want to play another game. But it's fine enough. There are, you know, non-promo versions of these cards, so they don't do anything different. They're basically like alters that Wizards was selling. And you know what? As much as I might not be into that, that's fine. The game is still mechanically its own thing, and you don't. It's not required to play with them, so that's fine. But now we have The Walking Dead. So what's different about this? They're mechanically unique Black Border cards. They're Black Border, which means they are tournament playable and eternal. So Commander, Legacy, Vintage. Well, okay, first of all, issue number 1, do you remember when they started doing buy a box promos, as that was the only way that you could acquire stuff? You know, like, what was it? Nexus of Fate. Nexus of Fate was the second one of those buy a box promos they did. They, you know, wanted to make these Commander cards that they could kind of put as buy a box promos, but they were the only printings that you could get of them. And so, of course, the supply of them was extremely limited, because you'd have to literally buy an entire box of Magic cards like when the set comes out in order to get one copy of this card. And it only took them 2 tries in order to print a card that was already, like, you know, seeing a ton of constructed play, and that was Nexus of Fate. And then, like, the next try that they did, like, they also printed Kenrith, which then also saw a bunch of constructed play. It's like, it was immediately, like, a terrible, terrible idea. Like, you should not have cards that are in Black Border that the only way to get them is to buy products that are not boosters. I should be able to go and buy, a pack of like Modern Horizons or a pack of like whatever standard set there is, or whatever like specialty draft set like Battle Bond. I should be able to open any card that I need out of a booster box. All right, there should not be black border cards that you can only get through like super special means that are that's totally different than everything else. The thing is, they've done that before. Mana Crypt and Nathalni Dragon are both examples of this, and I don't know if I imagine most of you know this by this point, but they actually promised not to do that anymore. And then they fucking ignored it, and then they continued doing it. And now they're doing it again. They're with The Walking Dead. So instead of it being like a convention promo, now it's a Secret Lair exclusive black border card that the only way that you can buy this card is from Wizards of the Coast directly for a week or something like that. And they don't even sell it to every place on the planet. Like, they sell it to specific countries. So if you live in a country where you can't buy a Secret Lair, you're fucked. You have to go buy it from the secondary market and hope that it doesn't get like too ridiculously expensive there. You literally will not be able to buy an official product in these places from, Wizards or from like a game store directly. You have to go to like, you're not going to order it from a distributor or anything. You're looking on fucking eBay or like TCG Player to like find this shit. That's a huge problem. Like, not everybody has equal access to the cards. At least, when a standard set comes out, if you should be reasonably able to get a box of standard, wherever it is that you live. You're not going to be able to do that with Secret Lair. When Wizards sells things directly, they only sell to like their certain list of countries, and that's bullshit. Don't put black bordered mechanically unique cards into a product that you're not going to sell everywhere. And especially not a product that you're not selling everywhere and you're only selling it for a limited amount of time. That's ridiculous. And then finally, we have to actually talk about the fact, well, they're Walking Dead cards. They're not like skins like Godzilla. They are literally Walking Dead characters on Magic cards that are going to see constructed play. All right, so there are a huge number of problems with this. Number one, they don't look like Magic cards. They're literally just pictures of like characters from The Walking Dead. That immediately pulls me out of the game itself. One of them is Negan. All right, I don't watch a lot of The Walking Dead, but I understand that like Negan is a terrible, terrible human being who has done terribly awful stuff up to and including like assault and like sexual assault. I think. I'm not sure exactly what the details are. I know he's like an absolutely terrible person that like the character is triggering to some people. And you know what? If we're going to like ban artists because we don't like some of the things that they have to say, why is it that we're printing characters from other IPs that are also going to be triggering in the same way? Who thought that was a good idea? Like, if I want to sit down to play a game of Commander and somebody's going to play Negan like that, if I could have like a reaction to that, and that's going to totally destroy, any, idea of fun that I was about to have playing this, fantasy game. It's like, nope, here it's this piece of media that you might have been trying to like not be exposed to because of how graphic or awful it might be. And no, it's part of the game now. You have to just suck it up and deal with it. It's black border. And secondly, it didn't take long for them to spoil cards that definitely are legacy playable. At least two of the cards, which Glenn and Rick, I believe, they're cards that like a Legacy Humans deck can very easily play in it. So we already know that it's not even like these are just going to be like Commander thing. No, they printed fucking cards that are, again, push staples that at least one deck in Legacy is going to be looking at. Like, okay, well, this is a very reasonable addition to my toolbox, so do I want to play it in this metagame? Like, there's a reasonable chance my answer is going to be yes, because they have some pretty strong synergies with them. Why? Why are we doing this? Like, we're taking the identity of Magic and we're just like throwing it away for no reason. So it's like we're breaking promises. We're not selling it to everybody. We're making it a very limited time thing. We're putting like very triggering characters into it. Like, for what benefit? Who wanted this? Like, Okay, if you made this silver border, like, it would be fine. It would just be like the My Little Pony stuff. Like, okay, it's not a part of like Legacy or Vintage. You know, if you want to play it in Commander, you have to ask for permission. But I'm sure most people would say, okay, that's fine as long as you ask. Rule 0. But no, this is now a card where if you want to like sign up for a tournament event, you may actually be sitting down to play against these cards in a tournament, which is just ridiculous. And the worst part about this, like, I don't even want to get into like how they tried to backpedal on this and say, oh, well, maybe we'll like print real versions of Magic cards them later, you know, if they become popular enough. You know what is popular enough to demand reprints? Fucking fetch lands. How often do we see those reprinted? Like, when's the last time that they put like a Tarmogoyf into like, you know, a reasonably priced booster pack? They don't do that. Wizards of the Coast is not in the business of reprinting cards because people want them. They have proven that, like, literally over the last decade, they are not going to print cards because they get expensive. So, them saying in the future, oh, we can print these if we want to, is a fucking lie. They're, like, sure, theoretically they could do it, but are they going to? I mean, I'm a person that believes that in judging people based on their actions, and well, judging on their actions, they're not good about reprinting that stuff. So the idea that just because we theoretically could print a real version of this card, like the Godzilla ones, in the future, that's not a defense of this at all. That's an excuse to do it. And just try to, push it as far as you possibly can before everything breaks. I don't want Magic to break like that. But here's the other thing. They're not going to stop doing this. There have been like rumors floating around. They have a ton of these like IP crossover secret lairs lined up, and if they're doing Black Border mechanically unique for this, there is no fucking way that they're not doing it for other stuff too. I mean, Dungeons and Dragons, we're gonna get a set based in that, and you know what? That's probably the one that I don't mind there being crossover with because it's another Wizards property, and honestly, the two things are already very tight together. We already have had stuff like a Bag of Holding in Magic. So that is, we've had like a D&D card in Magic, like in Black Border. But the franchises are basically the same thing. And if you're like me, one of the reasons that, you know, you like Magic, a lot of people played Magic in between sessions of D&D. Or like, you would go to like say, okay, well, we're going to play a campaign today, and then everybody also has a Magic deck. So you take like a break halfway through. It's like, okay, we're going to play Magic for a little bit on the side, and then we'll go back to our thing. They go hand in hand together. Like, they're themed the same way, and, you know, they have a lot of the same kind of like spell casting and, you know, fantasy stuff to them. They're not, so they're close enough, and they kind of cross over with each other enough. I don't mind that. And again, they're both like Wizards things that they do, so that's fine. But it's not going to stop there. All right, if that's not what they're doing. They're going to do more stuff like The Walking Dead. So I don't know, expect like they might do fucking other shows that, or whatever property they can get their hands on. I imagine like it's the only reason that they would even fight this as hard as they have is that they're doing this again, and they know that it's going to piss people off again, and they don't care. And the fact that they're going to continue to do this is really like what has crushed me like so much. I don't give a shit about The Walking Dead. I don't want to watch it. I have no real desire. I don't care if anybody does watch. Like, that's fine. You do you. But I play Magic because it's Magic. It has its own unique identity to it. I don't want the game to just become fucking Super Smash Brothers, the card game. And if it took them exactly one of these secret lairs in order to print a card that's like already going to see constructed play because of it, then I have absolutely no hope whatsoever that they're not going to do it with the rest of them. Because they know that push cards, you know, force people to buy them. You know, they're willing to sell out the health of the format in order to sell their new product. They've been doing it since fucking War of the Spark. That's why the Fire design is like completely responsible for all of this shit that has failed in Standard. So it's just not going to stop. And they're not going to pull the products. They're not going to like say, you know what, we're just going to ban these or anything. They put the Commander Rules Committee in the impossible position of, like 95% of the players want you to ban these cards from there because they don't want to have to deal with it. But the Rules Committee, like, well, we can't find any reasonable justification to do that. And I don't necessarily believe that. I think that, they had every reason to ban it, and the only reason they didn't is because they're effectively just acting as an extension of Wizards of the Coast now. So Wizards is the rule committee, and you just have to accept that. If Wizards doesn't want the cards banned, they're not going to be banned. That's all there is to it. I'm pretty sure there is even a Wizard employee on the rules committee, so if if the rules committee ever did something that was going to piss Wizards off, like banning their secret lair from it, you can imagine how that's going to go. That's going to be the end of the rules committee. And as long as Wizards of the Coast controls Commander play online, through MTGO, they have the power to do whatever the fuck they want. They know they can get away with it, and they're just going to keep doing it. They're going to force you to go and buy all these other IPs. If you want to play like competitive stuff, you may need to go and play with some stupid franchise that you don't have any interest in. And that's just hugely, hugely negative for me as far as Magic is concerned. So I don't want to be, I don't want to sound like all doom and gloom, but like, this is just unacceptable to me. I can't abide by this. But I don't know what, like, my personal problem now, I hate the idea of having to play Magic like that. Magic is not fun to me because of the fire stuff. Like, I love the game. I love playing Merfolk. I love playing against the control decks, maybe not as much the combo but when the combo's balanced enough, that's fine. It has been fine in the past. But no, they've been like completely destroying the game with like all these pushed fire cards, and now they're destroying it by putting all these like other IPs into it. So at some point, like, where do you say, what's the line? Like, if I'm not enjoying what they're doing with this game anymore, why do I continue playing it? And for me right now, the only answer is that I'm playing it because of this YouTube channel. So we don't have the gathering part of Magic anymore because of COVID. Like, it's not safe to go out to game stores and play this stuff. I have literally done an entire video, about that, and you should watch it and, take heed. The fact that the president right now is suffering from COVID because of his, inability to address the crisis in, a responsible manner is both mildly amusing, but also like kind of terrifying that, if the literal president of our country can't be insulated from this, then like what hope does your game store have? So yeah, it's not safe to play Magic in person, and honestly, like, I don't know. Ever since then, we don't have the gathering part, and now they're destroying the Magic part of it they're turning it into Smash Brothers, the card game, and that's not something I'm interested in. So I'm in the position where I'm playing Magic mostly because it's something that I'm good at doing, but I also like making the content for you guys to watch, because I like the YouTube part of this more than I like the Magic part of this now. And so I am continuing to do this because of you. Your support, like your comments and your likes, that's entirely the reason I'm playing this at this point, because Jesus Christ, I just cannot, I don't know. I can't fathom why it is that they think that any of the stuff they've been doing is a good idea. They have pissed off a huge amount of their players right now. Honestly, I have seen more people pissed off about this than I have seen pissed off about anything Magic related in my entire life. This isn't like the regular, oh, the sky is falling, this is the end of Magic. No, people are like legitimately upset about this because they realize like how predatory Wizards is being, and Wizards of the Coast does not care. And when I say that, I mean that as a company. I'm sure there might be individuals there that do care and that just don't have the ability to do anything about it, but I'm sorry, I have to treat them, by their actions, and their actions are really, really predatory and really damaging to the health of the game, and they're basically redefining what the game even is at this point. It's not Magic, it's Magic plus all this other shit, and that's not what I signed up for. It's not why I enjoy doing this. So for the next couple days, we're not going to be playing Magic. I need a break from this shit. I can't just keep doing this and pretend like it doesn't upset me on some level. So I'm going to show you some of the stuff that I like to do with my free time that doesn't have to do with Magic, because you know what? I get to have a life outside of Magic, and you guys all do too. And Wizards of the Coast should know that. We don't need Magic in order to live fulfilling lives. There are tons of other fun things that we can do with our time, and I intend to showcase some of that stuff this week. And hopefully it'll be entertaining for you. If you were looking for Magic content, I don't know. This is not the week for it. Sorry, I'm taking a break this week because I need it, and I know a lot of other people need it. So I hope that you will enjoy this. Please let me know in the comments how you feel about all this nonsense that's been going on. I know I'm definitely not the first person to speak about it. I won't be the last, and I'm not even necessarily the biggest voice on this, but at least I had to say my piece in this, and for my own mental health, we're just gonna take a break from Magic for a week. All right, we're gonna do other stuff that's more fun, that isn't totally being destroyed at every second for predatory reasons. And I hope that you'll enjoy it, and I will see you then. Take it easy, everybody.
Yeah, that was good rock talk.